Howdy, folks. What's going on? This is the Outlaw Hatfield back at you one more time for a Saturday night wrestling chat. Of course, with me, as always, is my friend and co-host. English is a third language for me. Rich White. How you doing, Rich?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad, man. How's your day been?
Boring.
Well,
The one I was doing some research for our topic tonight.
um, yes, we actually do have a topic tonight. We are going to later on in the show do a top five of sorts. Um, from one of wrestling's greatest heels, probably the greatest heel of all time. Can you think of anybody else that would personify that role better than this gentleman?
Piper.
You know, people say that. I've heard that before, but I don't consider Piper a total heel. I just consider Piper being Piper.
His heel run in the mid '80s in WWF. Yeah, he was a heel.
Well, the whole coconut to the head of Jimmy Snuka probably helped that along.
Mm-hmm. And Randy Savage, when he was a heel, he was up. I mean, the bell to Steamboat's throat, for crying out loud.
Now,
I mean, there's a few guys.
There's a huge list of guys out there that would be. See, maybe that's what we ought to do next week.
You don't watch the Japanese stuff. Minoru Suzuki, and that guy is like a Bruiser Brody type on top of it, and he leads his own stable over in New Japan, and he's been in other places too. And that guy, you watch him in the ring and outside the ring when he's doing other stuff, and you would think he's probably one of the meanest guys on the planet.
Yeah, but
he really comes across as one of those guys that legitimately likes to hurt people. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah, but you know me, I stick
for a long time.
I stick with most of the guys from the 80s and 90s. Okay,
Minoru Suzuki started in the late 80s, early 90s. He's been around for a while. He's in his 50s, and he still is a badass.
I don't know, man. It's hard. It's if you was to come up with a top 10, and you with a list like that, it would have to be a top 10. There's no doubt in my mind. There's just so many of them. No. And so many of them were absolutely fantastic as heels.
Yeah. If you want to talk heel period, whether an in-ring performer or not, Bobby Heenan's got to be at the top of the list.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I don't know, because if you're talking about in-ring or out, Jim Cornette probably right up there with him.
No, because Corny had a face run as a manager. Heenan never did.
Yeah, I guess this is true. And that was a very short-term face thing with Cornette as well, by the way. That was the big feud between the two Midnight Expresses.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another guy. You want to go back, the old school, who was a heel his whole career, Ivan Koloff.
Absolutely. Yep. And Ivan, hey Teresa, Ivan was one of those heels that he was just made to hate. I mean, he was absolutely set in there at a point in time in American history where
the height of the Cold War, and they put him in there as they put the short French Canadian guy in there as a Russian heel, and he just got so much heat they couldn't change him if they wanted to.
Yep.
And cross promotion, even. I mean, it went cross promotion with him.
I just got a message from somebody, and I'm not sure who the hell it was right off the top of my head. Hold on a minute. Uh, huh. That's interesting. I just got a message from Midnight Range saying that Vincent is on Cameo if we want him on here. So I'm not sure how legitimate that is. It is coming from a Travi, after all.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got the pin people out there farting on pancake people.
Yeah. Well, this this is a normal thing for this chat. Anyway, gun loving grandpa, Midnight Range, Kingpin's out there. So we got a good start. I'm happy with it. Yeah, sure, Midnight. I tell you what.
Now I'm getting a text.
Yeah, so do I from Sarge. What the hell?
I got one from Midnight.
Ugh.
Yeah, he sent me the same thing you just said about Virgil.
You know what I'm gonna do? Let's just do this. Hold on a minute. Everybody's sending me text message.
He said they were talking about it. Oh, he went bye. Well, Baron von Claw. You mean Baron von Raschke there, Kingpin? The German guy with the iron claw? What? Fix it now. I have no idea where that one's from. Okay, who just texted me a StreamYard link?
I'm back. Damn, I didn't know I was even gone.
Yeah, somebody just texted me another StreamYard link, and I don't know who that was. I don't recognize that number.
That's weird. Anyway, Sarge, send me a message and I will answer you and I'll give you a link and you can come in here if you're listening. So, but I don't know. He Midnight said that Vincent was ready for a cameo. Vincent wants to come in here. He's more than welcome. We can talk wrestling with Vincent, can't we?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
The thing is, Cameo, they charge money, so I mean,
Yeah.
you might want money to come in here.
Well, he's out of luck. I'm broke.
Yeah,
I'm not one of these.
man.
I'm not one of these folks get paid to do YouTube yet. I'm going to wait till I get a couple, million subs, and then what I'm going to do is charge everybody $2 a minute to watch. Rich White, look at the pic I sent.
Yeah, I see that he's wearing a King's Dominion shirt or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. He just looks so lonely in that picture. It's like, please, somebody talk to me.
I wonder how he's doing with now that he's out of wrestling, out of the spotlight.
He still does like signing shows and stuff.
I don't know.
Lower at the picture. What's this? Is he? Are you trying to insinuate that he's Porky Pagan or something there? Midnight. It's my eyes are terrible. He's wearing shorts or something, maybe.
Yeah, he's wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Midnight, you're a jackass. No, we can't show that pic.
No.
If you zoom in on it, on the bottom of it, you'll see what he's talking about.
I don't know. The bottom's cut off on.
Well, it ain't on mine. Trust me. It's unprofessional. I know it. I'm eating Cheez Its, if you're wondering. Um, but anyway, wow. Yeah, that was definitely a cameo we don't want on this show. Or any other show for that matter. So anyway, I'm sure some of you folks is wondering what me and Rich is talking about top five tonight. Me and Rich has decided we are going to do a top five best Ric Flair matches. Now, he apparently has done far more research into this than I did. So I'm going strictly off memory, whereas he has actually sat down and done the research. So, Rich, we'll let you start. What is your fifth
Okay,
greatest Ric Flair?
I have a tie at number 5.
Okay.
First one is against Bruiser Brody, February 11th, 1983, in St. Louis. This was at the height of Brody's career in Japan. This match was telecast both in the United States and Japan as a result of that live. It wasn't shown in Japan pre-recorded like they would normally do if like Brody or Gordy or somebody like that who was popular over there were wrestling over here in the US. They showed it live over in Japan. This match is probably the closest Brody ever came to winning one of the major world titles in the United States. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Brody won the first one. Flair won the second fall by countout. Third fall went time limit after 40 minutes.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't even know that match existed. I thought I knew about everything about Flair.
Yeah, you gotta look. You gotta search that one out and check that match out. That match was Brody's usual brutal, but Brody also was wrestled technical in that match. It was not your typical Bruiser Brody match, and it was just a really good match between the two of them. Flair got down and dirty with just as much as Brody did, and Brody got just as technical as Flair did. It was brilliant.
My top five, and folks, like I said, I'm doing this off from memory and just remembering these matches that I've seen. And believe me, I have seen a ton of Ric Flair matches.
Number 5 yet, though. I still got another one to tell you at number 5.
That's right. You said you had
and that would be the I Quit match with Terry Funk from November 15th, 1989 at Clash of Champions 9 that took place in Troy, New York, and is one of the few times that Flair retained using the figure 4. At the end of the match, Funk's words when he quit was, "My leg is breaking. Yes, I quit, god damn it."
I seem to recall that. Yeah, that was a good match. That match is also on my list, but it is not at number 5. My number 5, and like I said, folks, I don't have the dates and the times and the stadiums, but I do remember the matches. Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich for the world title. Kerry actually beat Flair for the belt. It was an absolutely fantastic match. And if you want to see a good Von Erich match, that's the one to watch. Fantastic. What's your number 4?
The match that made Sting a star. March 27th, 1988, Greensboro, North Carolina, Clash of Champions 1.
45-minute time limit draw.
Yes,
That
sir.
is also on my list. That match, actually, you've seen things out of Sting in that match that you really didn't see him do a whole lot. For crying out loud, he actually did a head scissors. And before that match, I don't think I'd ever noticed Sting do a head scissor, especially on somebody that says Ric Flair, who's not, the biggest guy in the world. I thought that was very impressive. It's one of those matches where Flair was typical Flair. Lots of chops. I couldn't. How if I was to count how many times Sting got chopped in the chest in that match, it would have to be 100, 115. I mean, Flair just steadily chopped on him. It was a great match, though. It put Sting on the map and showed the world that hey, he's got all the ability in the world to be where he's at and at that level. And lo and behold, what was it? 2 years later, he actually had a title on around his waist. So, my next one is going to be a bit strange for most people. It would have been the Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes match. Steel cage. Flair beats Dusty, but it was a brutal, brutal match. Like I said, anytime you got Flair and Dusty in the ring, it was a hell of a match. It was just freaking awesome. This particular instant, Dusty was coming back from so-called injury, of course, and Dusty beat him, or Flair beat Dusty. Just standard as always. So, where we at? Number 3.
Yep.
Okay, what you got?
Versus Barry Windham, February 14th, 1986, right after Wyndham's run in the WWE ended. From Orlando, Florida, the Battle of the Belts 2. This match solidified Barry Windham as, in my view, being able to be a singles wrestler as well as a tag team wrestler. This match, Windham had Flair on the ropes the majority of the match. It ended where Windham went to hit Flair with a massive slam. They both topple over the top rope, brawl outside, double count out.
Believe it or not, I do not remember that match.
That happened on the.
I remember the feud. I remember the feud. That particular match, I don't remember. Anyway, wow. So, what was the build up to that one?
It was just part of that feud you were just talking about. I mean, this, like I said, this was early in that feud. This was right after Windham had left WWE. The cigar to the eye. Him and Rotunda lose the belts to the Sheik and Volkov. And Windham was gone. He was replaced in the U.S. Express by Danny Spivey. And this was one of the first matches he did out after leaving WWF.
How that run in WWF for Windham was what? Less than 2 years, right?
Yeah, if I remember right.
Because he had left at either the beginning of 86, 87.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then came.
Yeah, beginning of 86, because this match took place on Valentine's Day in 86.
Yeah. So Barry wasn't in the WWE very long, or WWF at the time very long. And at that time, if I'm not mistaken, that must have been just before or just after the Ronnie Garvin thing, right?
Yeah, around that time period.
Yeah, yeah. So now my number three. Number three is going to be Steamboat Flair. First match, 2 out of 3 falls, where Steamboat wins the world title from Flair. That match was absolutely fantastic. If you've not seen it, if you want to know what Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair were like, go watch that match. It was one of those matches where the hype and the build up and everything just culminated perfectly into a match that raised the bar. It really did raise the bar. It's a fantastic match. If you haven't seen it, again, go watch it. What's your next one?
Mine is the bookend to that match.
Okay.
Steamboat 3 from Wrestle War 89 in Nashville, Tennessee on May 8th.
Okay. That's where Flair regains the title.
Yeah, Steamboat goes for, I believe it was a suplex. His knee gives out. Flair rolls him up, 1, 2, 3, wins
Yep.
back the world title.
Yep. Do you remember how what move Steamboat used to win the title, though?
I just watched this match. I know he won the second match using the crossface chicken wing. Was he going for that again?
Nope.
Honest to God, I just watched this match this morning too. It's the worst part.
It was a double arm chicken wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lifted him up, and Flair was basically looked like he was breaking him, honestly. But Flair submitted. Great match, absolutely fantastic match. So we're down to number 2. What's your number 2 choice?
That is, I just gave my number 2 choice.
Oh, that's right. Damn.
Sarge wants to know how I know the dates. I looked them up, Sarge. I researched this last night and this morning. I was doing research on this list so I would have the information.
I was lazy. My number 2 choice is the Terry Funk Ric Flair I Quit match. Again, it was a great match, great build up to a match. Never thought Ric Flair was going to win it to begin with, but he actually did. It was one of those matches where, as much as I disliked Flair, I was rooting for him. It's kind of weird. And man, it was Flair wrestling away Flair never wrestles. Yeah, he actually got pretty brutal in that match.
Yeah, here's the thing you got to think about. This match was a culmination of a feud that started after my number 2 match. Flair technically was the face in this match.
Yep. Because after the Flair Steamboat match, Terry Funk comes to the ring, attacks Ric Flair, pile drives him, messes him up pretty good. Through a table. And that started the feud. And instantly, Flair goes from the
most hated wrestler, most hated wrestler in WCW/NWA at the time to be a number 1 babyface instantly.
Yep, instantly. It just boom. Okay, what's your number 1 pick?
My number 1 pick might be a little on the controversial side, but I'm going with a match from March 30th, 2008, WrestleMania 24, the Flair retirement match versus Shawn Michaels.
I have never seen that match in its entirety. I have seen snippets of it, bits and pieces here and there. I heard that it was a great match. And Flair at the time was what, almost 60 years old.
He was over 60,
and still performed at a fairly good level at that point.
Flair was on top of his game in this match. He wasn't Flair from the 80s, but he was still. It was reminiscent of Flair in the '80s in this match, and the ending sequence of that match. Shawn Michaels looks over, says to Flair, "I'm sorry, I love you." Sweet chin music. 1, 2, 3. Flair's career as a wrestler in WWF is over. And for me, that's where his career ended. I don't even care about what he did in Impact. That was total garbage. Flair wrestling in Impact was not good wrestling. The only good match Flair had when he had a match in Impact was against what's his face? The black dude that did the perfect impersonation of him, whose name I cannot remember right now. I'm seeing his face. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that was the only decent match Flair had in Impact. Impact was that his Impact run where he was wrestling again was a disgrace. It really.
Now, my number one is a match you've already mentioned once again. It's Flair and Sting. So that was a hell of a match. Like I said, seen Sting do things in that match that you never seen him do before.
Yeah, thank you, Sarge. Jay Lethal. That's what it was.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Dream match. If you could put Ric Flair in his prime against anybody else in their prime, who would it be?
Good Lord. I think we've already seen it. Look at the matches we've got on this list. Any of those guys.
Well, you know, if we're talking about a younger generation,
I mean, I could have put a match with Magnum TA on this list that I saw personally that went 60 minutes in the pouring rain in Three River Stadium, but because it wasn't televised, I didn't put that on there. But I mean, there's so many matches that Flair had with so many people over the years because how long his career is. To pick a dream match against somebody, I mean, it would have to be somebody from now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But
how about a Ric Flair Dean Ambrose?
Yeah, that could be good. Flair Omega. Let's see. Ric Flair Hiroshi Tanahashi. Ric Flair Kazuchika Okada.
I tell you what I would love to have seen is a Ric Flair Cody Rhodes. Somebody get Ric Flair.
That has happened in WWE. When Cody was younger, him and Flair, I believe it was for the Intercontinental title.
Huh. You say Ric Flair, then you say Intercontinental title. You sort of go, why was Ric Flair interested in the Intercontinental title?
This was at the end of his career.
Yeah, exactly. Why would Ric Flair ever be even interested in the Intercontinental title? It's the Intercontinental title after all, People talk about the 16 times. The 16 times. I think one time me and you was talking off air, and we actually go through and figure out how many times he actually held a world title?
I don't think we actually came up with a definitive number because nobody knows the definitive number because all the times that he would have lost it and then regained it in the same weekend in the independent territories. I mean, there's no way to know for sure.
But the number we come up with was it was well past 16. It was way up there.
Yeah. By the way, Sarge threw out a good dream match: Flair versus San Martino.
Yeah, Bruno San Martino and Ric Flair. Yeah, that would have been a dream match. Or, for that matter, Flair and Killer Kowalski.
Yeah,
imagine that.
Flair, Gene Knitsky.
Yep. Wow. Well, we really getting in there now. Did Flair ever? How about Stu Hart? Could you imagine Flair and Stu Hart?
Flair and Lou Thesz.
Yeah.
So now we're really getting old school.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was a 23-time world champ.
That's what Flair That's what Flair has stated he remembers. But even he says that's not a definitive count because he's lost track. Because all the times that he would have gained it and lost it.
And now you have to remember the WWE / WWF, call it what you will, has basically left out a bunch of reigns Flair had simply because of there was a mix up there for a while with the NWA, WCW. There was a time frame in between those two organizations where things went haywire. And Flair held some titles there. And back when NWA was still running territories, he'd lose it now and 2 days later win it back, and nobody ever knew. The only people that knew that were the people that was there. So that number, I cannot remember the number you and I came up with that night, but we did come up with a number, but we knew that it was off by quite a bit. But it was up there. It was up there in the 20s, and
close to 30.
So it was wild.
Yeah, there have been some people that have speculated he may have held a world title close to 40 times, but nobody will ever know for sure. Because again, one weekend he would lose it in one town, he would go across the country, and after he regained it that weekend,
didn't he lose it once? Didn't he lose it once in Puerto Rico one night, and then the next night or night after he won it back?
He did that numerous times. Yeah. That's why nobody knows how many he actually held. I mean, there's been documented cases of that happening in places like Denver and Sacramento and, all over the place.
You would basically have to talk to the people who were actually at these matches to figure it out.
And even then, I don't know if you could get an accurate count.
No, I don't think you could either. And you got to think, we're just talking about his world title runs. Okay, that does not include the times he was, a television champion or a United States champion or some other champion.
Yeah, tag team champion.
Tag team champion, exactly. When people think Ric Flair, all they think of is world title. He has held other belts, other titles throughout his career. You name it, at one point in time, Flair probably held it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, even though he defended the title in Japan, he never won one of the Japanese titles.
He didn't wrestle a whole lot in Japan, though. He made the occasional trip, but he really didn't go to Japan a whole lot.
Oh, but Ric Flair headlined and main evented the one professional wrestling pay-per-view that took place in North Korea.
When was this?
This was in the, I want to say it was late 80s, early 90s.
I don't know how I missed that one.
It was the one, I can't remember if it was New Japan or All Japan that was promoting it. It was through them, and Ric Flair was in the main event against one of the top Japanese stars at that time.
Wow.
For the, I want to say it was the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at the time, which would have been 80s. But yeah.
Well, I got into a discussion day before yesterday with somebody, and we were talking about who the better performer was. And me, I was Flair all the way. He would pick Hogan. And I was like, okay, Hogan had a huge following up north. and there was more money flowing into Hogan's pockets. Hogan was being pushed by networks. He was being pushed in movies. He was being pushed everywhere. Everywhere you looked, there was a Hulk Hogan something. Ric Flair didn't have any of that.
Nope.
What Ric Flair had was charisma and ability. I don't think Hulk Hogan had nearly either that Ric Flair had. There's no way he had the charisma. And as far as an in-ring talent, no, not even close. I think Flair was a better heel than Hogan would have ever been a face. And I told him, and this is just what I told him. I said, the only time I ever liked anything Hogan ever did was after he become Hollywood Hogan. Before that, I didn't like him at all. Just I was never a fan of Hogan. And I just didn't think he had the goods. I thought his in-ring work was subpar at best. If Vince would have been smart, he'd have went with Randy Savage and just stayed with Randy. Randy could go.
Yeah, here's the thing with Hogan. Hogan was the right guy at the right time for WWE or WWF when Vince was trying to turn it into superheroes versus supervillains. He wanted it to be a Saturday morning cartoon show at that point in time. And that's what he turned it into. And Hogan was the right guy for that job because he had the look. And whether you don't think he had charisma or not, he may not have the charisma that you think of, but when it came to selling merch to little kids, Hogan was tops.
Well, now this is true, but again, look at what he had behind him, pushing him forward.
That doesn't really change that aspect of it. You gotta look at what each company was doing. Flair at the time was the right guy for the NWA. Hogan was the right guy for WWE. NWA was trying to be the more professional look. We're real athletes and all that. WWF was trying to be Saturday morning cartoon in real life.
It worked for them. Mm-hmm. I will say that it worked for them. They, I would love to know the exact amount of money they made off of Hogan.
Millions and millions and millions, if not a word that begins with a B.
I would think that Hogan had a giant size to go with him. Yeah, well, see, that was the thing. That was the difference between wrestling in the North in the 80s and wrestling in the South. In the South, they really wasn't caring what the guys looked like. They just wanted to see good matches. In the North, they had guys like, Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd and these super big, super tough guys. And I don't think most of them could have won an hour in a match. I think, you had guys like Flair who could easily go an hour without being winded at the end of it. And yet, on the other side, you had a Hogan who. Do you ever remember Hogan going an hour? Because I certainly don't.
No, I was trying to think. No, I can't. I remember that.
And here's the thing. There's matches out there with Dusty Rhodes going an hour. Dusty was a big old boy. So, I think the South went more with the heated storylines, the angles, the long term situations. You know, the Four Horsemen attack Dusty outside. They break his ankle. Months goes around. You know, Dusty's finally back in the ring. He's wearing a boot. It culminates in a huge match. It becomes just a great big long storyline. And sometimes those storylines lasted a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year. The whole Dusty Rhodes Ric Flair thing lasted years. It wasn't just something that would happen and then it was done and over with. And that was the way it worked in New York. They would do something, you know, it'd go a few months and then it was gone. And they'd move on to something else, you know. Superhero Hulk Hogan wins again, you know. And honestly, the way they had Hogan build, who in New York was actually a threat to him other than Andre the Giant? So, I don't think anybody in their right mind could have watched a WWF match in 1985, 86. You put Hulk Hogan in the ring with anybody, Hogan's going to win. It's just Hogan is going to win, period. Who could beat him?
Yeah, it wasn't until you get to the late 80s where Hogan actually would drop the championship.
Yep.
And then you had guys like Savage, Ultimate Warrior, and Andre the Giant were the ones that took it off of him.
Yep.
And then you get in the early 90s and it was The Undertaker and then Yokozuna.
Yep.
But the smallest guy out of the ones I just said was Savage.
And Savage was a wrestler. Savage could actually go. Savage is, you know, if you go back and look at some of Savage's matches, you know, with Steamboat or Rick Rude or some of the matches he's had with, I don't know, name it, Ric Flair. Those were absolutely great matches. Savage Jake the Snake, remember that? Those were good matches. And I like to compare. If you're going to give a comparison, the closest thing you can come up with is Hulk Hogan in the North and Sid Vicious in the South. But there was a difference. Up north, Hogan was a huge baby face. You know, super big, super strong, and, you know, on top of the world. Whereas in the South, you had Big Sid Vicious, super big, super strong,
yeah, that wasn't
and
until
a
the
heel.
90s. Yeah, that wasn't until the 90s, though. And I would put him more in the Kevin Nash kind of role than a Hogan role.
You think?
Yeah. He was more of the Kevin Nash style. Go in there, do a few moves, and then be done.
Yeah, but still. Could you imagine? Let's go back to the 80s. We take Hulk Hogan. We make Hulk Hogan an actual heel in the WWE. He's a heel with a world title on his waist. Then it works. Then, yes, I can see it. You know, but Big John Studd in the Hogan time. Big John Studd was a good wrestler. The problem with that is he lacked the backing that Hogan did. He didn't have that Hogan-esque physique that Vince McMahon absolutely loved. You know, big, strong, yes, he was, but he didn't have that body that Hogan had. That was the difference. I think Hogan's biggest attraction was the way he looked. You know, those 24-inch pythons.
Mm-hmm.
I was just never a fan of the way they worked that. And honestly, when it comes to actual wrestling, how many moves did Hogan do?
Yeah. In WWF, not many, but he wasn't supposed to. That
Yeah,
was the
exactly. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
prefer to see guys out there that can actually do something. You
yeah.
know, it's like,
Hogan would get beat down at the beginning of the match. Hulk up, Hulk smash, Hulk leg drop. 1, 2, 3.
yeah, pretty much exactly. And it was every match the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't watch it, dude. I honestly couldn't watch it. It drove me crazy,
But
especially when I could watch
it got the kids watching. It got
it.
the
Well,
kids watching. It got their parents watching, and it made Vince millions and millions of dollars.
you see, maybe that was the thing. I grew up watching the NWA. I watched the AWA, uh, and all these other organizations, and I actually saw good matches. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think the people in the North ever got to see a really good match.
It depends on where in the North you lived.
Well,
Because
yeah, if you
again,
was out,
living right there on the border between the North and the South in Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is what, like 40, 50 miles from West Virginia.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
see, we got both there, but
we got the Southern stuff too. You know, we had
yeah,
the North and the South. And
yeah.
if you want to
Where I
talk
was
about
at,
Midwest, because remember, AWA was actually based out of Minnesota,
yeah,
so they were
yep,
Midwest
yep, and
and Texas. We
you,
got Texas because we got
oh yeah,
WCCW too.
yep. And that's the thing, man. But you can see the differences in these
Mm-hmm.
organizations.
Yeah, and I watched all of it.
Yeah, the guys in the WCCW would actually wrestle. The guys up in AWA would actually wrestle. They were had good
Yeah,
matches.
yeah, that's why
The guy,
I said on this show before. If you look at Ultimate Warrior in WWF and you look at Dingo Warrior in WCCW, you
yeah,
don't think it's the same guy.
no, because he was actually wrestling. He was actually using moves,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Well,
And
he still did the big, strong, I'm the muscle man guy in WCCW, but he would actually
yeah,
do holds and stuff.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's another reason why it's like WWE today. I have tried to watch it honestly, and you very rarely see them do a suplex. And if you do, it's a belly to belly or it's a belly to back. Uh, you and it's just completely over the head. Uh, when's the last time you've seen a chicken wing suplex in WWE?
No, in WWE, not in a while. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I can't really say that because Big E's been busting out suplexes.
Um,
Yeah, Big E looks like a guy that would suplex you out of your boots, though. So I mean,
yeah, but you don't see a whole lot of the technical stuff like you used to anymore.
depends on what promotion you're watching. Like we said
You know,
before.
yeah, well, exactly. So, and that's what I loved about even the Road Warriors. Here's a prime example. The Road Warriors could get into the ring and they'd throw you around everywhere, and I love that. But they were also able to get very technical. I mean, Hawk and Animal both had the ability to get technical when the time was right for it. Another guy that was like at Sting, and when he first got into NWA, he was doing things like we was talking about earlier. A head scissor takeover. He's a 265-pound man back then doing a head scissors on
Mm-hmm.
Ric Flair. That was unheard of then. It's probably still unheard of
Oh,
now.
there. By the way, speaking of Sting, just a little transition, real quick. They've announced where they're going with his first match in AEW.
Oh,
It's setting up to be a street fight. Him and Darby Allin versus Taz's guys.
really?
Yeah.
Is Sting healthy enough for that?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I think about, man. That injury that he suffered in that match with
That's
Rollins.
the same injury that cost Edge 10 years off his career.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And Edge was a lot younger than Sting is.
Yeah, and Sting's coming back a whole lot sooner than Edge did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now you have to wonder, how well is the back healed up? I'm sure he would have. I'm sure he has doctor approval, or he wouldn't do it. That I'm sure.
Well, it's
Um,
not a back injury, it's a neck injury.
well, but
It's
still,
the upper vertebrae in your neck where that injury takes place, which makes
even
it worse.
still, yeah. So I'm sure he's got the approval of the doctors, or he wouldn't do it.
Remember, this is the same injury that cost Lex Luger his career.
Yeah.
Luger was
So
flying, didn't know he had the injury, and ended up paralyzed from the neck down for 2-3 years until he was able to regain use of his arms and eventually his legs.
So I would love to see some more matches with Sting. I really would, but not at the cost of his health. You know what? I got the memories, man. I've got the memories. I remember all those great matches. I remember Sting versus Vader, Sting versus Muda, Sting versus Flair, Sting versus
Sting versus
Sid
Luger,
Vicious.
Sting versus Wyndham, Sting versus
Yeah,
Rude,
yeah.
Sting
Jake
versus
the
Austin
Snake.
for the U.S. title.
Yep, Jake the Snake Roberts. I have these memories in my head. I can see some of these matches like playing out like they were just happened yesterday. Um, I would rather keep those memories and be happy with it than see him have another match and actually mess himself up. To
Yeah.
get hurt to the point where he couldn't wrestle anymore or he couldn't
He
move
couldn't
anymore.
walk anymore. I mean, this
Yeah.
is an injury he had. If it gets any worse and it's not healed properly, he could be paralyzed from the waist down or even the neck down.
So you have to. I mean, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I'm sure he's been checked out. I'm sure it's been okayed, but at the same time, you know, I look up to this guy, and I always have. He was one of my childhood heroes when I was a child. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
and you hardly ever hear anybody say anything bad about the guy.
no, no. Everybody you talk to has nothing but praise for
Mm-hmm.
him. Except maybe for Dick Slater, but that's a different story altogether.
That's why I said
Uh,
hardly ever hear.
yeah, yeah. Except maybe for Dick Slater, and that's a completely different story. Um, yeah, but like I said, I'd rather keep the memories that I already have than for him to take the chance to have another match and hurt himself and never be able to walk again. Maybe that's being selfish on my part, but
No, that's not being selfish on your part. That's not wanting to see the guy get hurt. That's just being a human being, being concerned about somebody's health.
but I don't know. It could turn out to be one of his best matches. So who knows, man? Who knows if if he thinks he can do it, he can get in the ring and still perform at the level he was performing at, 5 years ago. More power to him. How old is he now?
Sting, he's
Yeah,
in
he has
his
to be 55, 60.
no, he's in his mid-60s.
Is he?
Yeah. They just said the other night on Dynamite, and I forget how old they said he was.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly think he's too old to be out in that ring. But that's just my opinion. I would still love to see his kid show up and start wrestling. That's what I would like to see. You want to talk about what I think would be a great tag team? Road Warrior Animals kid and Sting's kid form a tag team. The new Road Warriors. Could you imagine that?
Well, Animals kids are playing in the NFL right now, so I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. But still, it'd be a hell of a thing because look at the lineage of the two. Did Hulk have any kids?
I do not know.
I don't either. Um, you would think that if it did, we would have heard about it, but some of these guys are very private and just live their personal life outside of the ring. So who knows? Might be something worth looking into later on. I'm either going to become a wrestler or president. Not sure which yet. Both, Ventura almost did. Kingpin's either going to become a wrestler or a president.
I think he had a better shot at president. They don't take too kindly to people trying to become wrestlers in their 40s.
Yeah. That's I don't know. DDP started out at 35.
Yeah, the only wrestler I can think of off the top of my head who started when he was in his 40s was the Boogeyman, and that's just because he agreed to do that gimmick. Vince was trying to get other people to do that gimmick, and they wouldn't. This guy got on tough enough. They found out he was 40. They were going to kick him off the show, and Vince was like, "No, wait, hold on. I'm going to offer him this gimmick," and that's how Boogeyman got his job.
And it worked. It worked. We've been talking some about Hulk Hogan and how big he was. Who are some other big wrestlers that you recall that you actually liked?
Big guys or just size wise.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, and all the Ultimate Warrior was big. My brothers loved Ultimate Warrior. I liked him more as Dingo Warrior. And Dingo, he was a heel too, which I think helped as well. And he had Gary Hart with him.
Yep.
Kingpin says Sid. I know you don't consider Scotty Steiner to be a big guy. I do, because the guy was just massive. He wasn't the tallest guy, but he was just massive.
Yeah. Well, when I say big, I mean tall. I have to agree. Sid Vicious is up there. Dan Spivey, the Mean Mark, Callis, or the Undertaker. Call him what you will.
I was never an Undertaker as a character fan. I just never bought into the Undertaker.
The Barbarian. The Barbarian was a big old boy.
Now, which Barbarian? Because there were two different Barbarians. Are we talking about the Samoan? Because believe it or not, the Barbarian is one of the Samoans.
Yeah, I know.
He's a member of that family. He's just a cousin off to the side.
But,
Mean Mark was cool. Mark Calloway as Mean Mark Callis in WCW was cool. When he went over to WWF and started the Undertaker thing, I never bought into it. I was never the whole supernatural. He's a dead Undertaker gimmick. No, the only time I actually gave a damn about the Undertaker is when he was doing the American Badass Biker stick in the early 2000s, back when he was feuding with Jeff Hardy.
Bubba Rogers is another big guy that I really liked.
Yeah.
Barry Windham, of
Brody.
course.
Brody.
Yep.
As in Bruiser Brody. And if you
Oh,
want, you
yeah.
can throw Brody Lee in there as well.
Yeah. Vader, Big Van Vader. He's probably one of the greatest big guys of all time.
I had Big John Studd's WWF doll, the solid hard rubber ones where if you whack somebody in the head, you knock them out with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who didn't like Andre when they were a kid? Come on.
Well, yeah, Andre is. Yeah, but see, Andre was sort of like, I don't know, man. Andre is like Hogan. He was everywhere.
Yeah, but if you look at Andre
Everybody,
in the 70s and early 80s, before his back started giving him trouble and stuff, Andre the Giant would deliver a drop kick.
yeah. You know, everybody wanted Andre the Giant. Television movies or television shows, movies. I don't know how many of you remember the show, The $60 Million Man.
Oh
But
yeah,
it was actually
I had the Sasquatch doll. I know where you were going with that.
Andre the Giant was Bigfoot in the $6 million man.
Yep. And I had the action figure where you push the button and the chest would pop off, and you would see the Sasquatch electronics inside the chest. Because remember, Sasquatch was actually a robot.
Yep. But it was actually under the makeup, Andre the Giant. He is probably in, God knows how many other shows that nobody ever knows. I guess his biggest movie role was Princess's Bride.
Oh yeah.
I
am the Dwed Pirate Wobbits.
Mm-hmm. He. I would say that movie didn't do anything but make him even more popular than he already was.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knew who Andre was. Period.
And the ironic part is that movie happened right before he started his heel run.
Yep.
And here's another interesting one. Sergeant Slaughter became a G.I. Joe character right before his heel run.
Yep. Remember that too. God, G.I. Joe. But if you remember correctly, in the 80s, the Mattel was getting everybody to become G.I. Joes.
No.
There were
two.
Sergeant Slaughter and the Refrigerator Perry.
That was it. There were just those two.
No, there was two more. There was two more, and I can't remember who it was.
I don't remember. Those are the only two celebrities I remember.
There was two more of them, and I can't remember who it was.
I remember they did the thing where you bought enough G.I. Joes and collected enough points, you could be your own G.I. Joe. They would turn you into one. You would send them in a picture, and you told them what you wanted your specialty to be and everything, and they would make the figure out of that resembled the picture you sent them.
Well, see, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Oh, that was like a big gimmick back when they did it. That was around 88, I think it was.
I honestly don't remember that. Which is not a surprise. I don't remember much of anything anymore.
Remember when they did the mystery pack with the G.I. Joes? It said what the name was, but it was a mystery because they had the golden figure in there. And if you got the pack that had the golden figure, you won like $1 million or something like that.
Nope, don't remember that either.
You don't remember that either? Anybody else? Yeah, they did a couple of different things. I think they did something like that with the Transformers too. With the little Transformers, the little ones, like the Bumblebee I have here.
Yeah. Speaking of Transformers, not to get completely off topic, but I'm going to get completely off topipic.
You just happen to be wearing a Transformers shirt.
Well, yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, of course, I'm wearing a Cowboy Bebop shirt, so
I'm not a fan of the Transformers, as you can tell.
He's in the pocket of Big Optimus Prime, folks. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Not that I'm, not a Transformers fan, but I've been watching that new Netflix Transformer shows, and
And
that's
those are,
pretty good.
yeah, they are.
Those are actually pretty good. I thought I was going to be disappointed, but I
I
watched
just
the
wish
first.
they could have got Peter Cullen and Frank Welker to do the voices of Optimus and Megatron.
Starscream. Yeah.
Well, the guy that did Starscream's
Well,
voice is
yeah.
dead.
Yeah, he's been dead since,
Yeah, he
Lord,
al-
80, 90 something.
he was the same guy that did Cobra Commander's voice too.
Yep, certainly was. And that particular guy made an appearance in a little known movie called Roadhouse. So a lot of people don't know that, but Starscream and Cobra Commander were both in the movie Roadhouse.
Well, Starscream and Cobra Commander kind of talked to each other in an episode of Transformers.
Yeah, I remember that too.
They just called him Cobra, but there was no doubt who it was.
The Great Snake lives or something,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Cobra.
they just called him Cobra.
Yeah.
But yeah, Transformers kind of gave away the plot line that GI Joe won in the end.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander was a homeless guy.
Yeah. That was after Transformers the movie, so that had to have been season 3.
Well, this
Had
was
to
towards
have
the
been.
end. This was towards the
Yeah.
end of it.
Yeah. So
This was right before they brought Optimus back to life, and that was the last episode.
It was the end of it for the United States. It kept going in Japan for another, I think, 3 or 4 seasons, which sucks because
the comics here in the States ran longer than the TV series did. The comics were in print until 91. The series ended in what, 88?
Yeah, something like that. Which sucks, but it is what it is. Anyway, that new Transformer show on Netflix is really good. I've really enjoyed it. Didn't think I would. Figured I'd give it a shot. I was wrong. It's not bad. It really isn't bad. Now, I don't know who the voice is that they're using for Optimus, but for some reason it just don't resonate the same way as it does with when it's Peter Cullen with the voice. But I don't know. Yes, I see your Starscream and your Seeker.
No, Thundercracker.
That's
Thundercracker.
Yeah, that's Thundercracker as a Seeker.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're trying to find my camera because StreamYard.
Megatron.
Yes.
Yeah. See there? Can't confuse me. I prefer the Megatron that's a Walther P-38 personally, but
Yeah, but you know what? This actually makes more sense.
Maybe, but I still prefer the P-38, and I like the fact that he could transform into the gun, and Starscream or Soundwave or whoever can just pick him up and shoot him.
Yeah, you got Wheeljack.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to have to do a Transformers chat.
Yeah, it's too much of a pain neck to get Grimlock from where he's at, so I'm not going to grab him. But, yeah. Gen 1 Bumblebee, anyone?
Yeah, indeed. And still has the penny slot in the back, don't he?
Well, that's where his head is.
Yeah. There you go.
And then over there's Gen 1 Devastator over there by the TV. I don't know if you can see him on camera or not, but he's over there.
Yeah, I see him. Yeah, but well, looks like one of these nights we might have to do a Transformers chat, Bubba. Talk about our favorite Transformer episodes, anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure tonight. We've been going a little over an hour, so I'm going to call it done for the night. Rich, you got anything to say, anything to plug, anything to get off your chest?
Just watch This Week Unloaded, hopefully tomorrow if my internet holds out. I'm surprised so far we haven't lost internet this weekend. The last 2 weekends in a row we lost internet. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Like I couldn't do Gary's show 2 weeks ago because internet went kaput, and last week I was just put on Foreign and Domestic because I watch like an hour of Foreign and Domestic before I have to leave and go start up my show. Right, I'm getting ready to type hello to everybody in the chat. Boom, there went the internet. So so far, cross your fingers. We have not had that happen this weekend.
I have been there and I have done that, my friend. I know that feeling. Anyway, guys, I would like to say thank each and every one of you for stopping by, for listening, for saying hello, being part of this tonight. I don't know what we're planning on doing for next week, but I will be back on Monday to have a discussion about something with somebody, I promise. So we will see you all then. Y'all have a great night, great evening, wherever you may be. I love you. God bless you. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye, folks.